Hello to YouTube world. So today is Memorial Day. So I want to first kick off by saying thank you for those who have served. Thank you for those who are serving today. Let's remember those that have fallen because of what bad people create, war, and millions that have suffered and died from those wars. So I would like to give a minute of silence. Well, I'm going to not talk for a minute, but I'd appreciate it if you guys would give a minute of silence as well. In remembrance of those that have given their lives for us to live free, and for those who fought the struggle. Thank you for those. And for those families that have lost loved ones. As many of us should say, we're sorry. And we wish it never happened. So let's give a minute of silence right now. So thank you for that minute of silence, and hope you guys thought about those that have lost their lives for our freedom and for the things that we could do today. So today is Money Monday Talk. So just to start from where we left off last week, and that will be going over a little bit of the spreadsheet, and I'm going to tell you the difference between dividend stocks and they call them growth stocks. Growth, and I'll tell you the difference between the two, just for those that do not know anything about it. So, with that being said, let me pull up the spreadsheet here. Okay, so unlike last time, I did zoom in this time. As you can see, I think I got it at, you probably can't really see it, but I have it at 230 percent. So hopefully you guys could see it a lot better. I also highlighted this line showing that this is the yellow is the one that we're talking about today. And again, for those of you who are joining, for those who are new, I started purchased a stock last week to see how you could sign up with Charles and Schwab. There's also Vanguard. There's several other investment companies, investment firms you could sign up with. Just a disclaimer: I am not a financial advisor, nor am I an accountant. None of that stuff. I'm just a basic guy like you, trying to make it through life, learning things, and what I learn, the wisdom I gain, I share it with you guys here on YouTube to help those out that are starting late, like I did, as well as those who are young, who you have more advantages in life than I did growing up because there's like so much now available on the internet, YouTube, like YouTube creators, content creators like me and others that have done it way before me are out here sharing this wisdom as well. And again, my channel is just another avenue. And every Monday, I will go over Monday Money Talks. And I will be describing this stock, the journey of this stock, as well as some of the other things that I've done financially in my life to help get where I'm at today. So, getting on to the spreadsheet that I had created here. I created this spreadsheet, so every Monday I'm going to go over it briefly, describe the columns slowly so you could absorb it, understand it, why it's like this, and what if there's formulas in the cells, what those formulas are for. So I purchased this Johnson & Johnson stock, which is called an Aristocrat stock. And I will explain what that is after I explain the spreadsheet real quick. Johnson & Johnson is one of the top performing stocks out there that have paid dividends over and over every year. I bought it in this year, 510. First time I've ever purchased a Johnson & Johnson stock. The what this column here means, dividend payout terms. Q is for quarterly. So this pays out 4 times a year, a dividends 4 times a year every quarter. There are other stocks out there that pay monthly, but again, I'm just showing this one stock and only this one stock to you guys to show you how the process works and how this goes from the lessons that I've learned. So again, 510 I bought Johnson & Johnson. The dividend payout term is a quarterly. That's why I have a Q here. And row D here, the NASDAQ, that's NYSE, that's the ticker symbol that they call it, is JNJ. So when you go online and you want to look up this stock, you put in here the ticker symbol JNJ. I'm going over some of this quickly because it's kind of self-explanatory. There's really nothing long about it. Stock type is equity. Then what that means is you own equity in the company, and that's a very small share of the company. It depends on how many stocks you have. So let's say the company has 1,000,000 shares of stock, and we only own, as you can see here, 2 shares. We own a very, very, very small portion of J&J because we invested in the company. And that's what this means. Majority of the time, the company is going to hold 50, maybe even more shares of that stock, percent of that stock. So they own ownership. No one can tell them what to do and all that stuff. But we'll get into that later. But that's what this is. Second, shares cost. So whenever you purchase a share of stock, that day, it's based on that day and that day only. I purchased this stock for $149.39. On May 10th, I purchased this stock at $149.39. I purchased 2 shares, like I said. So we'll stop at this row, and then actually we'll stop at this row because these kind of go into a little bit more explanations. The amount invested in the stock, $298.78. So here's the formula here. You probably can't see it, but let me highlight it. So here's the formula to find out how much the amount we've invested in the stock, how many shares of stock we own, what's the total dollar amount, which is G3. This is G3, this cell here, and it indicates it in the color blue, times, that's the multiplication sign, F3, which is the dollar amount of what the share is. And it's, again, it corresponds with the color of the cell. So with that being said, 2 shares times $149.39, we have $298.78. That's the amount of dollars invested in the stock that we've got when we purchased it. So we'll stop there with this one, and then we'll go back here. We'll go here back in column F. Again, we purchased at $149.39. On June 20th, the amount went up from $149 to $151. And this is the thing about stocks, and this is why I stay with dividend stocks, because no matter what, you get paid. Dividend stocks, we purchased at 141 or 149. It went up to 151, and now it went to 147.01. Yes, you want to buy the stock as low as you can. Why? Because if it ever comes around, and I'll explain this in another video, if it ever comes around where it goes up high, like NVIDIA, and they split it, you'll come out for the better. Where if you buy it high and it splits, you come out not losing anything or gaining anything. But again, we'll explain that a little bit later going forward. So it did go down. So that's the thing with stocks. They do fluctuate. And if you hold on to them long term, like I do with the dividend stocks, you don't really have to really worry about this too much unless you see it keep going down, down, down. Say, for instance, this goes from 147 and then 3 years from now it's at 2 cents or 20 cents. Something drastically happened with that company and you need to figure out if you still need to hold on to that stock because otherwise you'll lose everything. And that we'll talk about that in another video as well. So it did go down. Our total investment now is at 294.02. Our dividend yield, and this is what I'm talking about with dividend stocks, although it would be paying 496 here on 5/20, still we're looking at 496 next payment. Even looking at that the stock did go down, we're still at 496 getting a payment amount, which is a tremendous thing. That's why I love dividend stocks. Scrolling down, none of this has changed from last time, but the annual yield has changed, and that's the only thing that has changed. Next pay date is June 4th. That's when I'll see a dividend check for 496 or payment for 496 come into my account. But because it's a dividend, I have it reinvested until I want to retire. So 496 will go back into purchasing more shares of stock. Now, $4.96 isn't going to buy me a stock, but they'll go back into the account in order to be able to buy a share of stock. Let me get out of this. There are two types of stock that's out there. And the two types are dividend stocks and what they call growth stocks. You may ask, what are the difference? It says it in the name. Dividend stocks pays monthly checks. The companies pay monthly checks to those who invest in their stocks, like the Johnson & Johnson. They will pay out every quarter a monthly paycheck to those who invest in their stocks. Now, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, so don't think, oh, I'm going to invest and become rich. If you have close to $500,000 to $1 million to invest right away, yes, it's great. It's a get-rich-quick scheme that way because you're not going to be using any of your millions of dollars. Now, the millions of dollars that you invest will fluctuate. You could lose and you could gain money after investing. Think of stocks as like gambling almost, but not as risky. But it is risky. The dividends are based off the amount of stocks that you have purchased from that company. And it's a percentage of that money, of the stocks that they're going to be paying you those dividends from. A growth stock, they do not pay dividends. Growth stocks generally don't pay dividends because the companies that issue them often reinvest their earnings back into the business for growth and expansion. I was just reading that. Just in case you're wondering, hey, he's looking out. I wanted to word it right because, like I said, I'm not an investor. I'm not a accountant or anything like that. I wanted to make sure I'm reading it and stating that correctly to you. Growth stock is a stock where you would purchase stock at, like Chalopies. Chalopies does not pay dividends. Chalopies, and again, they're doing very, very well. Where if you would have bought them when they started becoming public and allowing people to buy shares of stock, I have to look it up. But in my next video, I'll show you. But if you would have purchased a stock at $20, now they're at $1,000 per share. Yeah, 1,000, and they just split. I believe they just split. So with that split, the $1,000 will go down. But if you would have had purchased them low back then, and let's just say you had 10 shares and then they split and they just 1-to-1 split, now you have 20 shares. you could sell 10 of those shares and get your money's worth back. If you bought it, if it split and it went down to the amount of what you purchased them at. And you could get that would be a gain for you. But let's say you had those 10 shares and it went from, let's say you bought them at $100 and now they're at $1,000. If you sold your shares, you would have gotten $900 back per share. Yes. So if you bought it at $100 and it jumped up to 1,000. So think of that. 900 times 10. You would have gotten $9,000 back. Now, think about this. The reason why I don't like growth stock is because of this reason. It's like, think of it as like flipping a home. You buy a home, you put your hard sweat equity into it, but you bought it at 50,000 and the market is saying it's at 100,000. You sell that home. Now you get 50,000 back. To me, it's like, no, you didn't lose any money. You gained 50,000 back. But if you really think about it, did you? Because you purchased the house at 50,000, and most of the time you purchase the house at 50,000 off of a bank note. Sometimes people do that, and when this house sold, you lost that. The thought of you lost money, but you didn't really. But you lost the 50,000 to the bank, and you gained 50,000 in cash. So yes, you came out 50,000 in cash right away, but now you have to reinvest that 50,000 in another house of flip. So yes, it could snowball and you could become rich from doing it, but you have to keep doing it. Where with a dividend stock, you invest into it. And if you invest into like one of those Aristocrats stocks, which I'm going to explain after this, if you purchase a Aristocrat stock where year over year, quarter after quarter, you're going to get paid a dividend. Think of it as like renting that home. Now, you may have purchased the home, fixed it up, and now you're getting a monthly check. Yeah, a monthly paycheck every month from a tenant that is renting your house at. So let's say you bought the house at 50,000 and your rent is, let's say, 1,100. Yes, it could go that route. You put the house on the market to rent and you got a tenant in there and the rent is at 1,100 a month and you've been renting that house out for 12 months. You would have earned $13,000 for 1 year. Let's just put it at 10,000, taking out the taxes. That's how a dividend stock is. So you just earned back, and you still have this investment. You just earned back $10,000 off that $50,000 investment. So now you have in a hole, as you're thinking, 40,000. Okay, that tenant stays in the house for another year. Let's say just for another 4 years. So within 5 years, you gain your money back. After 5 years, that $1,300 or $10,000 a year is cash in your pocket. That's what a dividend stock is. You invest your money into it. If you hold on to it, those dividends will come monthly. The more money that's invested into the stock, the more the dividend check will be. That's why I like dividend stocks. Yes, you do not gain your money as fast as a growth stock by buying it. Well, I'm not even going to say that. Let me rewind. If that growth stock does not grow, you might have to hold on to that growth stock for another, let's say, 10 years maybe, before you even can sell it and get your money back. As for if it was a rental property, like I said, I'm using that as a scenario. The rental property, if you fix it up and you're planning on flipping it, the longer it's on the market to sell, you got to pay that mortgage note back. So if your mortgage on that 50,000 is $200, $300 a month, and it doesn't sell for 2, 4, or even a year. That's the amount of money that you lost out in your profits that you're talking about. Same thing with the growth stock. If it doesn't increase by the time you buy it, and you're looking to at least get what you earn back, or what you put into that stock, you're not going to get your money back. And it also goes the same whereas now real estate a lot of times doesn't work this way, but let's just say you buy a house, you put money into it. Now it does work this way, and this is how stocks kind of work as well. You buy a house in a area that's not that popular, and the housing market is at 50,000, and you buy it at, let's say, 30,000, and you invest money to fix that house up to like another 30,000. Now you are in debt $10,000 to that house, because no one's going to really want to come out. You got to find that one unique buyer who's going to say, this house is worth paying $10,000 over the market. You got to hope that somebody comes and decides that is true. Same thing with the growth stock. You have to wait till that stock matures to get what you want to come back when you sell the stock, and then be done with it. So, again, I don't want to keep going into a lot of stuff because I want you guys to absorb a little bit at a time. And I know a lot of times this does get kind of boring the longer you're sitting here and listening, and you're listening. So I'm going to cut it off here. And actually, no, I want to go through one more thing. I'm going to pull it up here. Hold on. So as you can see, there's two types of stock. And here I'm going to pull it up. You've got the Dividend Aristocrat stocks, which are stocks that have paid dividends for at least 25 years in a row and have increased their dividends for a minimum of 25 straight years. This is the Johnson & Johnson stock that I'm telling you about. Johnson & Johnson is an aristocrat stock. The other stock that I'm going to pull up here, the other one is Dividend Kings. Dividend Kings, those are stocks that have increased their dividends for at least 50 years in a row. And Johnson & Johnson is that. So if you're looking to get a stock to start in the stock market, I would say start here. If you're looking for an individual stock, get online, pull up, and I'll show the dividend. Actually, I'll see if I can put it in my descriptions. I'm going to try to put in the Dividend Aristocrat stocks. Go down that list, do your research, and purchase one of those stocks to start out with. They're kings. Johnson & Johnson, they're not going to go anywhere. Only way that they could go under is if some CEO or somebody comes in and embezzles money, or somebody creates something that just devastates the world, and there's lawsuits that come out and they go under. But Johnson & Johnson, if you look up all the products in the world that they provide, it's kind of hard to say that they're going to go under. Coca-Cola and Pepsi's in there as well as a aristocrat. But go online, look at these if you're looking to start investing in stocks, and I would say choose one of these first. Another one would be the S&P 500, which has a lot of these aristocrat stocks in there. So with that being said, until our next Money Talks video, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're getting some knowledge that maybe you have not had before. But thank you. Give it a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up preferably. Comments, like comments. Notifications for when my next video will be out. And again, I hope you enjoy this content. Until our next video, see ya.